Hey there. Today in Excel Basics, I'm going to go over the if function, which I think is one of the most powerful tools in Excel. It's a very basic tool, but really when you know how to do ifs, then that starts to open up entire worlds of what you're able to calculate in Excel. So uh, an if function, right, is if, and then we have a test value, an output if it's true, and an output value if it's false. So let's say um, we have three individuals. We have Fred, Paul, and George. And we're looking at their bank account balance. And we want to know if they are in debt or credit, if they have money or if they owe money. Fred has 250, Paul owes 300, and George has 400. And so what we're going to do is equals if the logical test, so if this value is positive, so if it's greater than 0, then the value of true, and we use quotations if we want words. You don't need to do this if you're doing a number output, numerical output. So if it's greater than 0, then he has um, credit. If it's false, then he has debt. And we can see it's working. So Paul has debt, Fred and George have credit. And always, test this stuff to make sure that it's working the way you want. And it is working the way that we predict, so that's perfect. If we wanted a number, let's say, how about instead of caring about their credit, what if they all have credit? But we're a bank and we want to we want to incentivize them to have more with us, so we're going to give them a higher interest rate if they have more than $500. Let's say if they have, oops, I didn't put an equal sign. You always have an equal sign. If this is more than 500, so they have more than $500, then the interest rate is going to be 2%. Otherwise, it's 1%. And you can see it seems to be working. And we can make these percentages, of course. So Paul's getting a 2% rate, whereas these people are George and Fred are not. And if George had more money, it's working. Now, we can do what's called, what if you want more than one breaking point? Well, you can do what's called a nested if statement. Um, and this is also, if you're familiar with programming, you already know this, but we're going to nest something inside here. So what if we really want to incentivize somebody? And if you have over $1,000, then you get 3%. So what we can do is you can, set this up however you want, but or there's more than one way than what I'm going to do. But I'm going to say if you have more than $500, then we're going to do a second if check. Then we're going to do an if you have more than $1,000, then you get 3%. Otherwise, you get the point or the 2%. Um, and I think I did that right. So let's see. No one has more than 1,000, so let's test it. All right, and it appears to be working. Oop, because I put greater than, not greater than or equal. Okay, and yeah, it appears to be working the way we would expect it to. Even if you are in debt, you're still getting this 1%. Um, so that's a nested, right? So if, and it's very difficult to read. Something about Excel and programming at large, if you want to do, actual programming, um, is it's difficult. It's easy to write and difficult to read. So sometimes you find yourself in a position where it's not working and it's quicker just to scrap the whole thing and start over than to try and find the error. But I'm going to try to walk you through this. So if this is more than 500, then we're going to do another if test. So if this is more than 1,000, then we want a 3% rate. If it's not, this is the value of false. If it's not more than 1,000, we already know it's more than 500 because we're in this nested if. That's what sent us here. But if it's not more than 1,000, it must be between 500 and 1,000, and we get this 2% interest rate. But if we don't even get to this nested bracket, so we're under 500, then we have the 1% rate. And of course, you can nest further and further and further and further as many times as you want. Or there might be some limit somewhere, but I don't think I've ever gone. I remember when I took Programming 101, so that was dealing with Java. I remember the professor said human brains aren't capable of contemplating nested systems beyond 6. I don't know if that's possible or not. That's just something he said. But I don't think in practice in an Excel sheet I've ever nested more than 4 or 5 if statements. But theoretically you could. And one other thing I want to do is it doesn't have to be numbers. So it could be there's a certain credit rate and a certain debt rate. And maybe if that's the case, if you have credit, so if this is credit, oops, then you get 1%. Or more realistically, you get 1/4%. And if it's debt, then you're going to get charged 11%. And we need more decimals to even see what's happening here. And we can see that's working too. So you can use words, just remember the quotation marks. And that's how you use an if statement. And it is really not that complicated. And I think it is, once you learn how to do this, it really opens up so much to what you can do with Excel. So that's the Excel basics, how to do that. If you have any questions, let me know below. And thanks for watching.